Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hi, good.
We're
How are you?
back. We're doing good. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about helping people to understand why we're wearing a cloth mask with a little bit of the science and the respiratory science behind that. Um, I guess it's just science, right? Regardless. But anywho,
Yeah.
biology of that. And to think maybe a little bit more about what is a droplet and what is an aerosol. And, there's a lot of information out there using these terms. And I'm just not sure that all of us have that same level of understanding. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with us a little bit about that, I would really appreciate it.
No.
And again, this is Mike Chane, respiratory therapist, director of respiratory therapy program, and also a current practitioner for over 27 years. Is that everything?
Yeah, I think
And
so.
he worked last night.
I did. I work every Wednesday evening at the
Okay.
hospital.
Just in
All
case
right.
somebody hasn't watched another video, why don't you go ahead and just you appropriately tell us who you are?
Oh, okay. Well, like Julie said, I'm a respiratory therapist. I've been one for 27 years. I'm actually a graduate of the Cincinnati State program, and am currently the program chair for that program. But I do work every Wednesday evening. I've always worked, even while I was at Cincinnati State, because I love being a respiratory therapist. I like taking care of people. So Julie wanted me to cover a little bit of the science. You hear airborne and droplet, and what does all that mean? So I'm just going to briefly cover that. So one thing you have to keep in mind in learning about how COVID is transmitted is there's not conclusive data out there yet. They're not really sure. They do know that it's transmitted by droplet, which means that they're the little, particles that come out of your mouth when you talk or cough or sneeze or sing or whatever. And the best way to describe that is if you've ever been talking to somebody and the sunlight is hitting them from the side just right, and you can see all this spray coming out of their mouth, and you think, oh my goodness, what's wrong with this person? Well, that's normal. That happens with everybody. So those are the little droplets that can be infected. Now, the larger the droplet, the shorter distance it travels, obviously, because gravity is going to catch it and it's going to drop out. And so when we wear the masks, those protect other people from our own droplets, and the droplets can be infected whether you feel sick or not.
I'm
And
coughing on
so
cue, by the way, in case you were wondering.
I know, right? And those are coming out very fast. And if Julie was in public, those could come out, and the larger droplets would fall, and the really small droplets, they might hang there for a little bit. You have
So
to
just
think
to be
about really
clear,
small things.
so what we're saying is the droplets come out of my mouth, they go a certain distance, and if they're really big, they go a certain distance and they kind of fall. And if they're really tiny, they go longer and longer and longer away from me. And the smaller they are, the more likely they are to take longer. So that's where the time comes in.
Yeah, the small droplets aren't necessarily going to go farther, but they'll hang, the
I
hang
see.
time is longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a
So the
cloud.
larger drop, yeah, so the larger droplets, it depends on how fast they're coming out, because larger things tend to want to stay in motion longer.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll come out. But if I cough or sneeze, those larger droplets now are coming out really fast, so they will travel farther. But the smaller droplets, they may hang there. And so using the sunlight analogy again, if you've ever, sat on your couch and you're really, really bored and you're just kind of staring at the light coming in and you see those dust particles floating around, think about how long those things hang there. And
Mm-hmm.
if we think about the size of those particles, those are, this unit might not mean much to you, a micron, but dust particles are on average 10 to 20 microns, and a virus particle is just a couple microns. So think about how long that dust particle hangs there that you're watching, and think of how much longer potentially a much smaller particle can hang there.
So it's
And
like
so,
10 times smaller. That's like
yeah,
10 times smaller. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So they're
tiny,
not
tiny.
sure. Yeah, they're not sure yet if COVID is airborne. It's not conclusive. You read some articles here and there that says it might be, and that's Correct. It might be, but they don't know because we don't have enough data on it yet. So if it's airborne, then, you know, the masks, the cloth face coverings, those aren't really going to protect you. But that at this point, that's not the point. The point is to wear your mask to protect from droplets coming out and protect other people from your potentially infected droplets.
Yeah, and I think about this from maintaining perspective too. When previous to COVID, if I was thinking that I had the flu and went to the doctor's office, they would have me wear a mask in the lobby, not because I wasn't going to get sick, but to prevent me from getting other people sick. So if we want to maintain our perspective, you know, this isn't anything really new. What's new is that we don't know very much, and the virulence and the way it's presenting, and you know, learning more about something brand new, but you know, protecting for others. And of course, the Cincinnati State guidelines state for faculty and students that they have to wear cloth protective face mask while they're on campus, in buildings and in garages. So it's important that we understand that. I love this
Yeah.
analogy because I don't think people really think about very much, you know, how that works. And what the description that you just gave us helps me to better understand when I hear a news article or read something. And also it helps me think about, you know, why I'm doing what I'm doing, which I think is really good. Now tell me, when I'm coughing and
Yeah.
when I'm sneezing, you said really fast, like how, like a range of how fast am I pushing out this
Well,
stuff?
it depends on what study you're looking at, or what information you're looking at. It's varied. You know, different people have different amounts of forcefulness of cough. But you know, you'll read anywhere from, you know, 50 miles an hour to a couple hundred miles an hour for a sneeze.
That's
I
crazy.
don't know if that's actually what it is, but it's really fast.
No, that's really, I
Yeah.
mean, that just
But you
blows
know,
my
one
mind.
other
I've
point.
never thought about that.
Yeah. Now, how accurate that is, I don't really know,
Sure.
but
It's really
it's
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing too that I want to point out is that, you know, they're talking about wearing a mask to protect other people from your droplets coming out. And then there's what they're calling social distancing. I'm kind of using the term physical separation because I'm just, that word social distancing, I've heard it so many times. But you know,
Yeah. I personally like
if you're wearing a
individual
mask,
perimeter. This is my individual perimeter.
there you go. But, you know, it's both. You should be doing both, because
Yeah.
if you have a mask, it doesn't mean that you can go right up on somebody, because, again, a lot of the masks, unless you're using a higher level mask, they don't protect you from other
Right.
people. Um,
And just something else to keep in
so,
mind, if
and
you
the,
are like me in a susceptible population and you do happen to buy filters that we talk about in our mask segment, this number, PM 2.5, refers to the particle size. So it's another reason to understand why the N95s and N99s and the microns and these things matter, because you're blocking smaller particles when you're using a filter that has smaller holes. And so I think those are directly correlated, right, Mike?
yeah,
All right. Well, thanks. We'll see you
yeah.
again. And I appreciate it again. If you have specific questions about anything on this particular segment, please send them to me. And Mike has already agreed that he will either come back again or we'll find a way to answer those questions and get them on the faculty resources, COVID-19 faculty resource site in Blackboard. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.